Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is, work for a technosite of ONCE Foundation. I'm going to moderate this roundtable. It is an honor for me to moderate it because we are going to talk about good practices that are developed in the sector of accessible tourism. We're going to start to talk about the city where we are these days. We are going to talk about Avila as an accessible tourist destination. We are going to talk about a European initiative that is STEEP platform. We are going to talk about policies and strategies applied in our neighbor countries, Portugal, in terms of accessible tourism. We are going to talk a very interesting experience in Israel. And finally, we are going to talk about a support initiative in tourism in Spain. We are going to start with the introduction of the speakers. We are going to start with Noelia Cuenca, City Councillor for Accessibility in the City Council of Avila. And she's going to talk to us about good practices carried out in the city in terms of accessible tourism. Here we have specific adaptations in buildings. They have worked on not only on physical accessibility, but also on training and communication accessibility, and they have approached accessibility transversally. What can I tell you about Noelia? There are so many things to tell. She's so experienced in the accessibility sector. She has a degree in social work. She has been a city councillor for accessibility since 2011. She's in charge with other issues related to disability and safety, urban mobility and transport. And she's also in charge with developing communication actions between different institutions. She's in charge with training and conveying the accessibility culture to spread good practices in Avila and to other places. She's president of different commissions related with accessibility. She takes part in a lot of events, national, international events. And finally, and then I'm going to give Noelia the floor, Avila, for having worked so much on accessibility, its work has been recognized. Avila has been awarded a lot of prizes since 2008 until now. And Avila was recognized internationally as an accessible tourist destination. Noelia, you have the floor. Good afternoon. Thank you, Lourdes, for your introduction. Once again, I want to welcome everybody. We have already done it. We have talked about it. But I hope that you feel fine here and you enjoy your stay here and the Congress. I want to thank ONCE Foundation for trusting Avila to celebrate the Congress here. It has been hard work. I want to thank all the technicians involved in the organization, and I want to thank Jesus for his support and for being such a good friend. Lourdes was saying that I am very experienced, but I can say that I have a great team, very good colleagues. All we do is thanks to the great team we have in the accessibility department of the City Council of Avila. and thanks to the associations of disabled people, and then to the organizations, regional and national organizations that support us and help us to do things well. I want to thank them all, and I want to thank the volunteers that accompanied our guests in the city tour. Before starting with my presentation, I want to make a short introduction with a video that describes a little bit the work we carried out in Ávila.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And now we are going to start the presentation. Before starting, I want to greet the colleagues at this table. We have the opportunity to learn a lot from them. I need a remote control. Okay. So we are seeing it in the video. Ávila is a human heritage city. Ávila is a human heritage of everybody. And to be a human heritage, a city must be prepared. I'm going to focus my presentation on what we have been doing from the City Council and the tourist sector of the City Council. You have had the opportunity to go on some guided tours. Now you have the opportunity to see what you couldn't see yesterday. This is just to remind you. I'm not going to talk a lot about Ávila because this is my city and you have the opportunity to go for a walk and to discover it and enjoy it. I'm going to talk about two features. Ávila is a human heritage. It's a difficult city because we've got cobblestone streets. It's the homeland of Saint Therese of Jesus. Saint Therese is one of the most important points of attraction, and we celebrate the 5th centenary of her birth. I want to greet my colleague that has just arrived. When did we start the work on accessibility at the City Council? It started in 2005, and we started with a study, an analysis, a diagnostic on the cultural offer and tourist offer. We analyzed all the hotels, all the restaurants, and all the cultural heritage. And we have been supported by those who know more about it, that is, people of the Association of Disabled People. We started to carry out the study, and we realized that it was useless to analyze if we couldn't carry out the improvements needed so that the venue, the establishment, could be better prepared for different kinds of clients. We drew up some reports and some brochures with recommendations based on the accessibility regulations, where we gave them advice on how they could improve the infrastructure. Once the facilities were adopted, they had to be recognized and they had to be made public. If they are not known, all the work is useless. We carry out a guide of accessible resources with descriptive information. The disabled people are those in charge of judging whether an establishment is accessible or not. Disabled people are those who have to determine whether the services are accessible. The information has been updated, and we keep on working on it. And the improvements are continuously updated in the guide of the resources. So if the information is updated on the website of the City Councils, www.avila.es. We're talking about the fact of enjoying tourism. We have to make changes all along the tourist chain. We have to take into account accommodation, transport, restaurants, and we have been working on it on parallel. We have been working on architectural accessibility, heritage accessibility. We have signed collaboration agreements with ACS foundations, which enabled us to raise awareness. Many businessmen have been made aware that the heritage must be accessible. We have to break down physical barriers, and then we have taken a further step. We have included mock-ups, easy reading brochures. We have improved the environment. We also have to improve environments if we want to make human heritage accessible. We have worked on parking spaces. We have improved the public transport fleet, and we have made it accessible, the communication system. We have worked on the communication system, and we have to think of making them accessible. You can see on the slide that of a project we have started in signposting, where you can see city air so that cognitively disabled people or autistic people can identify the place where they are going to go. It's a pictogram of the entrance to the city walls. Where can we get information on the accessible resources in the town? A month ago, we introduced information on the website of the tourism website of the City Hall. You can find information on accessibility, Avila for all, but the same information In terms of hotels, restaurants, on heritage, the same search that you can carry out personally, you can have information on accessible establishment and venues. You can find all the resources that the city offers in terms of tourism, hotels, restaurants, heritage, as I have already mentioned. And on the website of the City Wall, which is a specific website, you can have access to it from the website of the City Council. We have also introduced sign language, Spanish sign language, so that hearing impaired people can have access to information. What resources do we have from the point of view of the tourism? We've got easy reading brochures for intellectually disabled people. We have published 2 easy reading brochures, one from the city walls and from Saint Therese of Jesus. During the visit yesterday, it was switched off. As you arrived there a bit later, it wasn't accessible, but today you can see it, you can visit it. It's an information point where you can have information, where you can increase the printing, audio information, Tiflologic mock-ups, where we have been advised by the Tiflologic Museums of ONCE Foundation, where people can enjoy the visits with Braille information. We have 5 mock-ups, and this year, we'll carry out another one. We have signpostings and maps in Braille and embossed, magnetic loops for hearing impaired people. And we have audio guides and video guides that explain the city walls. I'm going to talk about them when I'm going to talk about the city walls. We have to continue working so that accessibility become a real thing. But we also have to take into account the customer care, the proper customer care. This is why we have organized sessions on heritage accessibility. We have carried out courses in terms of customer cares for hotels, restaurants, police officers. We have carried out a brochure with the help of an association of disabled people, in which they can have advice. We have always been advised by associations of disabled people. We have carried out other different activities, inclusive activities, in which everybody can take part. Activities, guided visits, the medieval market, the legend series. This Saturday, we have a festival in an accessible area where we have a sign language interpreter. Here you can see images, photos of activities in which everybody can be part equally. The medieval market, we have launched some tickets that you will already have been given. We have worked with all the tourist establishments in the city to advertise the venues. And one of the attractive points of the cities is the medieval market that will be held on the first weekend at September, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I invite you to come back to Avila to enjoy it. Heritage for All. You had the opportunity yesterday to enjoy a walk along the city walls, a guided visit, and a theatrical performance. How did we do that in terms of accessibility? I always show these images because I like to visualize how the work started and what was the final result. It wasn't easy because accessibility, not everybody understands accessibility. So I had to take some measures. We can see here two people on a wheelchair on the left lower side. There's the chief. A person, you can see a person on a chair, and they created an itinerary that it wasn't accessible at all. We told him that the best way to prove it was to sit down and to prove it by himself. And we found out that we had to change many things, and we changed them. These are the itinerary we created. We created two itineraries that led to the ramp area. There is also a lift there. And finally, I don't know if anybody used the lift yesterday, but most of the people use the ramp because it is more enjoyable. And finally, we made our dream true, our major's dream true. He wanted to see that somebody on a wheelchair could walk along the city walls. And you can see here images enjoying the walls. I just want to tell you to make some comments. And comments we received from people from Avila. Surely not. There are many people in Avila who have never gone up the walls, but they have the opportunity. Disabled people or people with reduced mobility who have wanted to go up the walls until 2008, they couldn't because it wasn't accessible. And many people have given up trying to do it. There are so many people who have been dreaming for all their lives to be able to do it. And they have made their dream true. I think it means a lot. So they tell me that I have to finish. I'm going to finish quickly. I'm going to mention some accessible resources to prove that our walls are inclusive walls. We have fine technological mock-ups, the information point, the website, the easy reading brochure, and finally, the audio and video guides that when they were designed, we took into account the concept of design for all. We wanted to design and customize audio guides so that everybody could be able to enjoy it. We wanted deaf people to use the same device as the rest of the people. So the audio guides are handed out to everybody in 9 languages and sign languages and Spanish sign languages and universal sign languages. The buttons are in Braille. You can hang it. You don't have to press any button to receive information. As you go walking, you receive the information. I think the walls in Avila are a good example of what Heritage for All is. And I'm going to finish with different activities we carried out in heritage areas. The City Hall, San Francisco City Hall, Concert Hall, which is perfectly accessible to everybody. We have created a pedestrian itinerary. It was a bit complicated. Los Verdugo Palace, it is the head office of the group Human Heritage Cities. It's a Renaissance palace, which is perfectly accessible. The Palace of Congress, Lienzo Norte, the place where we are now, that has introduced accessibility, and then we have improved it, and we have managed to make the Santa Convent accessible. Many people come to visit it. It was very difficult to go upstairs, and we had to help disabled people to go upstairs, but now it's perfectly accessible to everybody. The cathedral, where there is an access ramp, a tiflological mock-up that can be amplified, Santo Tomas Monastery, where you can find the Oriental Museum. Here you can see other images from the city, St. Vincent Basilica. You can see an access ramp, the environment where we have carried out some works. For all these reasons, we have been given awards. We are the first European city of accessibility. This is a very big commitment to keep working because there are so many things to be done. And I think you have walked along the city, through the city. There are so many things we have done, but there are still a lot of things that should be done. Thank you.
Pues muchas gracias a ti, a tu equipo, por supuesto, y especialmente pues por contarlo.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your team, and thank you for your enthusiasm. Now, our second best practice, it is related to the STEP platform. It is a platform to promote the exchange between offer and demand in the social tourism field. From this project, Dani Silva, project manager from ISTO, we talk about the project. Well, he's about the platform. They deal for target groups: elderly people, disabled people, young people, families, and of course they promote the exchange of good practices and data in the social tourism field. It is led by the Social Tourism Organization. Dani Silva studied philosophy. He finished a master in 2013 related to international cooperation and development. He has a wide experience in the tourism field and in coordination of national and international projects. He had been supported, and he had a wide net of volunteers and collaborators. I give you the floor, Dani. Thank you for the invitation. I will carry on in English. I hope you all have your headphones in order to understand me.
Which is now known as eCalypso platform, was a European initiative. It was funded by the European Call for Proposals in 2012. And what I want to show you here today is the follow-through from the time Calypso started to where the platform is. So I start with the Calypso initiative, which actually started in about 2007, to which the European Commission, through the pressure of the European Parliament, as well as the interest of the European Parliament, to seek out touristic solutions that would both support a holistic social integrity, as well as a means for economic and sustainable growth in the field of tourism. And this is where the European Parliament found a key asset in social tourism. Now, as you know, social tourism, as you can see from the presentation above, it focuses on 4 target groups. Now, within the Commission itself, it was believed that these 4 target groups are the means to not only a sustainable activity or an end, in quotes, an end to seasonal practices of travel, as well as they are the key assets to promoting and supporting specific populations that for some reason or another have found themselves with difficulties to travel. We are here today talking about accessibility as a core issue to the discussions today. Beyond the activities that, as we've seen from the previous presentation, it was now important to see how these investments can be optimized and how these investments can actually support a flow, and how people from abroad, remember the European Commission focuses on trans-border, transnational activity, not necessarily domestic. So it's a key asset that such practices become known, relevant, as well as accessible, not in the terms as we are discussing it here today, but accessible to a greater public, especially those within European member states. So the key factors were exactly these that united the Calypso initiative, and they were that, one, we had to service 4 target groups, being them young adults, families with difficulties. Difficulties can be a multitude of different types of difficulties, people with disabilities, as well as seniors or pensioners, aged anywhere above 55 years of age. And these 4 target groups would aim at supporting the industry during the problematic periods of low seasonality. So here's the combination of how specific groups could support the industry itself and also promote growth, motivate investments to support the target groups. So, okay. So the Calypso as a whole wants to offer today, I should say, as we come through the end of the 2013 process, which we now enter into Horizons 2020 starting next year, what we have seen is that Calypso has also aimed at supporting small, maybe less recognized, less massified touristic destinations. One can consider places such as the Eden Destinations, another program by the European Commission, or small locations, small areas that were not traditionally areas of touristic flow, but today have an interest or have something of a certain curiosity that would attract the 4 target groups. So tourism is not just about the beach sides, the major cities, but it is something that could be sustained by any area with specific niche focuses. So with this, mind you that the project or the Calypso initiative had, since 2007 up until 2009, been under a process of research. Some of you here present were also invited to be part of a working group to define the categories, define the whole structure of the Calypso initiative. And in 2010, there were the first projects, known as the Call for Proposals from DG Enterprise, which launched the first projects related to the Calypso initiative. And there we saw projects that favored or studied or reviewed the potential behind inter-regional or transnational exchanges of tourists between different nations, especially within the 4 target groups. This means that one particular country could organize groups to go to another member state and vice versa. The idea was to create a relationship between various member states and bring them together in order to create a kind of touristic flow that would go between member state to member state. There is, of course, this concept behind it, which is the promotion and the incentive of European citizenship, which we believe, through tourism, is one means to actually motivate and create a vision of real citizenship throughout Europe, that we are one and the same. Now, as the eCalypso aims today, so this is where our project, the STEEP project, as I mentioned earlier, the STEEP project is the name of the project. eCalypso is the name of the platform that will be launched as of the 1st of July as an NGO, and it will be servicing both the educational aspects behind social tourism, but as well as the commercial aspects. But we'll go into that in a bit later. So the idea was to bring offer and demand together. We have, for example, seen throughout Europe, there are a lot of activities, there are a lot of service providers in tourism which are aiming at seeking niche markets. These niche markets, for example, we somewhat touch on it. We have 4 target groups, they all have their specific needs, they all have their specific genres, and there are operators today working in that field. On the other hand, the demand side has traditionally been dominated by associations, organizations, non-profit organizations, trade unions, and so on. And they seem to be a disconnect between the two parts. So the idea here, once again, was to see how we could unite them into a virtual commercial entity. Because we know that if you're not connected today, your chances of business success are slim. So especially when it comes to tourism, especially with the boom of the .com industries, we needed to provide some tool that would sustain and support the whole social tourism industry, because we know that there are a lot of organizations that today, up until today, have depended on the nation state, in this case national governments, to support these activities, and in the last 5, maybe 10 years, that has somewhat diminished, especially under the current crisis situation that we face in Europe. We have seen a lot of budgetary cuts in relation to supporting social tourism. So this means that we needed to create something that would create an internal dynamic within the industry that would continue its sustainability, its survival, whilst supporting the main target groups and without affecting the overall costly overheads that each entity has. So already in April 2012, the project was initiated, and since February 2013, so just a few months ago, we launched an operational beta version. Of course, you can all visit it at www.ecalypso.eu. And the beta version has given us the opportunity to reach out to the market, to see what was in need, so what the industry was looking for in a platform, what were the potential buyers, so the potential clients in a way, would be interested to see in such a platform. What would they need to have? What was the information? What would be the commercial aspects that we needed to incorporate? Mind you that the eCalypso platform is a B2B platform, which means that the only types of entities that can enter into the platform are either specialized tour operators, which work in the field of social tourism, or any of the 4 target groups specifically, or an association, a trade union, or any kind of associative mass that has worked in the field of supporting some sort of groups such as those in the 4 target groups. The current consortium has been developed by the OETS as the lead partner, the one I represent here today, Florial, which is a Belgian consortium for social holiday centers, run by one of the major trade unions in Belgium, Lega Coop, which is the union of cooperatives, in Italy, Segitur, which is our technological partner, which is, of course, Spanish, so home-based here. And then we have the consortium Siena Hotels as a private consortium working on development of hotels in the Siena region. UNAT, which is a social tourism network in France, and ENAT, which is one of the kind organizers here today. So the next step, now that we are coming to the conclusion of the project, is to move towards a non-profit sustainability of the platform. And that means that we are seeking out new partners, memberships, as well as joint cooperation in EU projects to which we have direct access to. So I've already touched a bit on the eCalypso platform, but I give you now some more detail in relation to the platform itself. First of all, the platform aims at supporting organizations, groups, or any operator that is willing to work or organize or sell products within the field of which we tend to function in, which is, of course, selling offers, products of any kind in tourism. Now, these products are generally oriented towards either youth groups, people with disabilities, seniors, as well as families with difficulties, which means that the packages, the products that are available have to be designed in that appropriate way. And the eCalypso itself can offer the support to help build those products. Let us take, for example, our colleagues here next to me from Avila. They have made an investment in order to make Avila accessible. What we can do in a cooperative way, so working in cooperation, in close cooperation with Avila, is that we could actually support them in building a visitor package to come to Avila, where you can incorporate a hotel, transport, considering that most people will probably come in through Madrid, and other services, a tour guide, for example, combine them, build it into a package, and then put it into the eCalypso platform to be sold, because we do have the commercial aspect. We have a commercial sales and reservation site online, which you can book directly with ecalypso.eu. But beyond this commercial entity, we also have, and that you can access all of you, which is the public area. Mind you, we have two different areas. We have the public area, which is informative, educational, means good practices, such as the one from Avila or from anywhere else, is more than welcome to be put in. We also have academic research in this area. We have contacts in relation to good practices or professionals working in the field of whether it be accessibility or other. So it's an area where professionals of the field can get together, discuss, as well as jointly develop products, which means we have at the moment 55,000 offers already online. We have about 180 entities registered, and they can communicate among themselves to create joint cooperation. So this is a bit of a unique aspect compared to other types of platforms or with a commercial end. Also, as I mentioned earlier, our commercial end is non-profit, which means that it will allow the service provider to sustain an affordable activity online, but as well as maintain feasible, or shall I say, attractive prices to the end client. Furthermore, any service provider could actually get in contact with another service provider and jointly build on a new product. And then you can use the platform to commercialize that product. So this is an example of the senior market, which is basically some examples of where numbers are. And it shows that the potential behind eCalypso. Of course, you can also see these numbers. Time is running out, so I better run. So basically, to give you an example of what the opportunity is behind eCalypso, these are senior numbers. You can also look at accessibility numbers, which touch on very relevant growth in the demand. So within the concept of the platform itself, we have two distinct areas. You have a public and a private area. Within the public area, you have general information, news about Calypso, as well as EU initiatives. You have member and partner data. You have a marketplace which just gives you general information on what's available in the private area, but no access or no direct contact information or sales information. Within the private area, for registered members only, mind you, it's a B2B, there is where you'll find the sales tool in which you can download products, charge products into the platform, and then sell them exactly through the platform. And of course, create a whole B2B relation with other partners in the platform. So how can you join? Or how can it work for you? First of all, by joining is easy. Visit the site, you click on Join Us, and automatically you can enter and register, and then we will send you some documents which will have to be filled in, and you're ready to work within the platform. What it hopes to do is what's mentioned there. You can sell products, you can build relationships with other entities working in the same field as you, get educational data, academic data that might help you pursue new activities or pursue good practices in your own region, as well as access EU projects which are yearly available. And finally, this is the platform. Of course, I can only present here the public area, but you actually have the front page, which is the general page, and the two side documents are actually the pages of the private area where tools are available and so on. So I invite you all to visit the platform. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us at www.ecalypso.eu. Thank you.
Congratulations, equally, because we think this initiative helps to promote and to generate businesses in the sphere of tourism industry, especially during these crisis times. And now we are going to talk about tourism in Portugal. We are going to talk about it. Sorry, I have to change headphones. We are going to listen to Eugenia Lima. She is an academic from the Polytechnical Institute of Coimbra. Portugal has started quite a lot of initiatives on accessible tourism and integrated the country strategies on tourism. They have developed programs, training programs. They have certified tourist destinations, and Eugenia will give us the details. And before giving the floor, I'm going to tell you a few things about Eugenia. She's an academic, she's a university teacher. She has a bachelor's degree in management and tourism planning. She's a master's degree on information management, and she's a PhD student in the field of accessibility in tourism. So she's very experienced and she has a lot of information to give us. So I give the floor to Eugenia. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you to the organization for giving me and giving us the opportunity to talk about what we have been doing in Portugal. My presentation is about the state of art of accessible tourism in Portugal. In 50 minutes I will try to show you that change is happening in Portugal in relation to accessible tourism. A brief summary about my presentation. First of all, I am an academic, so I will start by some concepts, passing by some demand growing factors of accessible tourism, and a little brief consideration about accessible tourism development. Next, I will pass by some good practices in Portugal from public politics level to some good examples from private sector, and the importance of mobilization of the different sectors in the society. Starting with some concepts, we all know accessible tourism is also known as inclusive tour or barrier-free tourism or tourism for all. By definition, accessible tourism enables people with access requirements, including mobility, vision, hearing, and cognitive dimensions of access, to function independently and with equity and dignity, to deliver universally designed tourist products, service, and environments. Also, the tourists with disabilities concept established by World Tourism Organization only in 2005 recognized that owing to the environment encountered, some people may suffer a limitation in their relationability and have special needs during travel, in accommodations, in other tourism service, particularly individuals with physical, sensory, and intellectual disabilities or are medical conditions, so requiring special care, such as elderly persons and others in need of the temporary assistance. I will just point out some demand-growing factors. We all know that the demographic data show us that the aging population in developed countries. We all know that there are a strong connection between age and lack of mobility. And that there are gradually increase in the discretionary income of people with disabilities. We don't forget multiplier effect of companions. People travel accompanied by their families and friends, and at last medical technology development. So there are lots of factors that are showing us that accessible tourism has a lot to grow. Passing to the competitive advantages for tourism service, we all know that there are very good reasons for developing accessible tourism. First of all, it's an ethical issue, and there are right reasons for developing accessible tourism, but also there are a lot of competitive or economic factors that much encourage the tourism sector. So, first of all, as we know, accessible tourism market includes a diverse set of consumers, not only people with disabilities, but all the elderly people, people with temporary impairment, parents with young children, etc. There are some research that show that this kind of consumers have a high level of tourism loyalty. Other research demonstrate that accessible tourism is also very important to reduce seasonality and increase occupancy in low season. And as we've seen in the morning, there are a very important issue that is the social corporate image inserted in the logic of tourism for all, and this is also very important for the tourism sector. At last, we can see there is a latent demand with the potential of market growth if barriers can be removed. Accessible tourism development, we need to have a systemic overview. This means that we can't only consider one element of the tourism chain, but we need to consider all the elements of these chains. Not only accommodation, not only the transportation, that is also very important, and where there are a lot of barriers, but we have also to think in supporting service, in the restaurants, in public spaces, in the rental of technical aids, etc., etc. And we do not we cannot forget the travel arrangements, since we all know that all tourists need reliable information, and in the case of the tourists with some kind of disabilities, this factor is even more relevant. Okay, let's move on to some good practice from Portugal. I will try, this is not exhaustive analysis, I will try to show you some good practice, some good examples, starting by political level and public local level, and the other mobilization from the associative sector and from private sector. So at the public tourism political levels, there are some recently initiatives that I would like to point out. First of all, there are two recommendations from Portuguese Republic Assembly that recommends the Portuguese government to develop an integrated strategy to promote accessible tourism and tourism for all in Portugal. This was last September 12. Also at the National Strategic Plan for Tourism, that is the document of reference of the development of tourism in Portugal. This document was revised in January, last January, and for the first time there are a clear reference to the importance of developing accessible tourism. And there are specific lines at that level. Also, the Portuguese Tourism Authority, the Turismo Portugal, have also an important role played by the creation of a subcommission on accessible tourism, inserted in the Portuguese Commission for Normalization in Tourism. And I will show you a guide of good practice for accessibility in hotels that was launched in May 2012, and a training program on accessible tourism that is also very important. This is the guide of good practice for accessibility in hotels. It's a very interesting document which provides technical information and recommendations on special needs of clients with impaired mobility, allowing for an easier interaction and a better quality in the service offered. Another good initiative is frequently neglected is the training program on accessible tourism. This is an initiative that have the umbrella of the Tourism Authority, and that aims at a better quality and service offered. Is directed to the different sectors of tourism, and the main objective is to train human resources working in tourism to deal with different situations when interacting with people with special needs. Let's see some good examples in the qualifying offer. As we see, we have been talking about at political level. In terms of qualifying offer, there are also various initiatives that deserve our attention. The first of it is about Accessible Beach. It was a project launched at 2004 by national public authorities, by National Institute of Rehabilitation and by National Tourist Authority, among others authorities. And I can tell you that in 2012 there was 144 accessible beaches. Here are some photos. To be considered an accessible beach, there are various aspects to take into account, since pedestrian access to the bathing area, or the walkway in the area, and another aspects like the access to the bathroom and to the point, etc. So, in respect to the local public, we have also a very good example. I hope you have been heard of it. Is Lausanne, is a small village in the north of Portugal, where there are a long tradition in the domain of accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities. There are some facilitating factors, such as ARCIL. ARCIL is a Lausanne Association for Rehabilitation of Impairment People, and is an association where there are a lot of work since 30 years ago. Also, the Municipal Provedoria for Persons with Disabilities, launched at 2004, and the label Lausanne Accessible. This is a label that recognizes some commercial establishments in some kind, in respect of some kind of accessibility, but is a very, very important initiative also. And at last, National Congress of Accessible Tourism in 2007, that brought together a lot of actors to discuss the subject. So there are here some factors, political, social and cultural factors, that facilitates this kind and this culture of accessibility. So Lausanne, as a pioneer setting up a methodology for working in collaboration, including a diversity of players from tourist level and social sector, with support of national and international experts such as ENAT, among others. Lausanne was the first destination in Portugal to have the certification of accessible destination, international certification by TGV. Here are some photos. The first one is the Lausanne Downhill Wheelchair. This is a very interesting event, an annual event. And in the other photo we can see a group of blind people at Lausanne Schist village. That is a very typical village in Lausanne. Let's see now, another good practice came from the private sector. Accessible Portugal is the first travel agency specialized in the accessible tourism, and this travel provides accessibility across the tourism value chain, such as accessibility transportation, accommodation, accessible restaurants, also personalized support if needed, outdoor adventure programs and technical aids rental for persons with disabilities if needed too. Here are some photos. Okay, let's move on. It was also recognized from some awards, from Portugal Tourism Awards and the European Enterprise Award. Okay. Another good example is at Associação Salvador. Associação Salvador is have different areas of intervention in integration of people with disabilities, and in respect to tourism, this association created an accessible Portugal guide with tourist information about accessible places in different languages, and is very useful too. There are also good signs of change in the domain of cultural venues. Well-established museums like National Tile Museum, to recently created like Batalha Council Museum, a knowledge pavilion like Life Science. There are very good examples at this level too, and this is achieved by materials to be touched, information in alternative formats, audio guides, video guides, multi-format printouts, and with trying to eliminating physical barriers too. Let's see some photos. This Santa Clara Velha Monastery. Here there are some photos here, materials to be touched, and it's a very beautiful monastery at Coimbra. The Romanic route, there are a very interesting initiative too in the north of Portugal. Here some photos, Património para Todos, or Heritage for All, with Portuguese Sign Language. And at last the Batalha Council Museum, that it was recognized as the best Portuguese museum at 2012, and recently we won the Kennedy Hudson Award in 2013. Okay, let's go to some conclusions. I think you can see that is an emerging new paradigm from for the development of tourism based on quality, competitiveness and sustainability. It is important in this process the importance of a strategical vision and the political commitment that we seen that is also a factor in the accessible tourism in Portugal. It is also very important to have a systemic view, and in this process is very important in involving different players from tourist sector and from the other sectors of the society. So we think we can gradually have this change really happen in Portugal, even though only recently Portugal have taken into account this reality, but I think we think that change is really happening in Portugal. Thank you very much for your attention.
Igualmente feliz.
Congratulations, because you gave us a panoramic view very interesting about tourism in Portugal, and yes, we can see the progress. From Portugal, let's travel to Israel with Ellie Mary. It's a Christian route, but landscape, archaeological sites, walking routes, and of course he will talk us about this route because accessibility has been taken care of. He's from Israel for All. He has a social degree. He has been working for 15 years designing services for disabled people. I give you the floor.
Thank you for inviting me here. As you just said, I'm from the private section, and I developed services for about 15 years. Actually, I started 30 years ago. 30 years ago as a social worker, working with people with disabilities, and just the last 15 years in accessible tourism. I always say that Israel for All was founded for the ability of the people, not the disability. we want to encourage the ability of the people. That's the point, or that's the initiative that I founded and I want to keep on doing. While doing it, we found that the market of people with disabilities is different, because not all the people are coming to Israel or like to come to a place just for a kind of a view, or a kind of a beach, or a kind of a heritage, this or that. And we found that they are coming for very specific interest. So one of the specific interests that we saw is tours for people, for Christian people that want to follow the footsteps of Jesus. All of you know the history of the Christianity began in Israel, and the stories about Jesus started over there, as other stories of the Judaism, stories of the Muslim. All of them are combined. So we are taking segments of interest for people that like this segment or that one. We are speaking about a tour now that is on the footsteps of Jesus, the footsteps of Jesus, and we'll start with a saying that was said by a Benedictine monk who lived in Tabha, in a place in Israel, and he wrote in his book, With Jesus Through Galilee, according to the fifth gospel. Fifth gospel. We have four of them. The five gospels describe the life of Jesus. Four you'll find this in Scripture, and one you'll find in the Holy Land landscapes. Learn the fifth gospel, and the world of the other four gospels will be open for you. So you have to see it just to know what is it about, because only by reading the four gospels you'll understand a small piece of it. So let's start. We'll start with Nazareth. Nazareth, the place that the Annunciation was given. Nazareth is in the north of Israel. It's in the Lower Galilee, located between hills, like most of the heritage cities that are in between hills, older cities, and they are surrounded by the city. So it was a very small village at the time of Mary that was living over there. It was a very small village, and today it's a very large city. But the Annunciation was given there in that city, and they built on top of the archaeology of 2,000 years ago. At the time of Jesus, at the time of that village, they built the Basilica of Annunciation. Basilica of Annunciation is built like a lighthouse, and they said that Jesus is like the lighthouse of the world, so they built it like a lighthouse. They made it accessible, so people with wheelchairs can go inside and visit. Unfortunately, not all of it, but one floor is fully accessible. People can go around in that floor and see it. This basilica is dedicated to Mary. That's the inside of the basilica. It's quite a new one, but down below there is the place of the old village, the house of Mary from the ancient times. Scriptures of Mary from all around the world are on the walls of that basilica. We'll go on, and on the way to the Sea of Galilee, we will find the place that Jesus made the first miracle. First miracle was made in the village of Cana. The village of Cana, over there, you can see the basilica that is over there, and it's also very accessible for people on wheelchairs. You can also, people that are blind can also touch and feel the walls of that basilica. Sea of Galilee. Sea of Galilee is one of the most important places of the Christianity, major Christianity tourist attractions. And because of this, Jesus is said that Jesus walked on the water of the Sea of Galilee. And just some years ago, on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, we discovered a boat from the first century, the time of Jesus. We don't know, there's nothing that is telling us that Jesus had something to do with that boat, but it's from the time of Jesus. Also this place and this boat is accessible, and it's exactly look like the paintings of ancient boats from that time. This is not the boat, this is a new one, but is quite similar to the boat that was at the ancient times. It's a wooden boat that is going on the Sea of Galilee, and people can embark the boat and go on the Sea of Galilee. It's a very good, very nice and good experience to do it and to have the feeling of going on the water of the Sea of Galilee. That's the Sea of Galilee from another point of view. And another one. So, going on by the Sea of Galilee, we have the Church of Multiplication of Loaves and Bread. Most of you know the story about the multiplication of loaves and fishes. And over there, on top of a very ancient church, we have quite a new church. It was built just in 1937, but on top of the ancient churches that were on that spot before. In the floor of that church, there is a mosaic of the fishes and loaves of bread that were given to the people over there. That's another place in that same church, the Church of Loaves and Fishes. Capernaum. Actually, Capernaum was the town of Jesus. Jesus was living over there. And we have the ruins of that place. And we are going just between the houses of the time of Jesus. If you will see the tour is going just on the level of the village of the time of Jesus. So you can feel and see and get the inspiration while going there in that village. Capernaum was a fishing village. It was a Jewish village at the time, and it's on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Two of the disciples were from this village. Actually, the village was from the village of St. Peter. The village of St. Peter, this was the place of St. Peter, and Jesus just went there and lived there during the time, and people can follow him on his way. Actually, Capernaum, much more than Nazareth, offered to Jesus a twofold advantage as far as his messianic activity was concerned. In that village, you can also see a synagogue, an ancient synagogue. It's written that Jesus purchased in that synagogue. So you can go and see it and hear the story about the synagogue that was there. Talking about the people that are coming, there's a person that came with us. She was from New Zealand, and she came by herself. We accommodate people that are coming by themselves also, if they don't need any special treatments, and they can do their daily life by themselves. So we don't require that people will come with a helper or something. They can come by themselves. That's another picture of the same place, of the synagogue of Capernaum. That's another church of Capernaum. This is an Orthodox church, Russian Orthodox church, just of Capernaum. That's a picture of the new church that was built on top of the house of St. Peter's mother-in-law. We have some things that are showing us that this was the place. It was holy during the whole times, and just on the 60s they built another church on top of that village, of that house. Mount of Beatitudes, the Beatitudes that were delivered by Jesus on the Sermon on the Mountain. That place is quite new. It's a very wonderful church that was designed by an Italian architect. And now, just a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, it was made accessible for people on wheelchairs. You can also touch the walls, and you can feel the feelings, the wonderful feelings in that specific church. So people that are blind can get the idea about it also. That's the view from over there. And inside the walls of the church itself. The baptism of Jesus. A lot of people are coming to follow Jesus and renew their baptizing. So we have two places actually that you can baptize in the Jordan River. Jordan River is not such a very big river, but while seeing it, you'll understand what was at the ancient times by baptizing over there. That's the a scripture that was made later on in the 3rd, 4th century. But today it looks like that. It's the Jordan River. People are baptizing there, and it's accessible also for wheelchairs. There's like a small ramp that is going all the way down to the water.
Por favor, 2 minutos, ¿vale?
Okay, I'm by the end. Yeah, that's another place that just was open a year ago. It's on the border. The Jordan River is going between Israel and Jordan. And on the border, there is the site of baptizing. While going from there, we are going to Jerusalem and also again to the last week of Jesus. This is the view from Mount of Olives, looking towards the old city of Jerusalem. Also a very nice point of view that you can see from over there, or look from over there down to the valley and see it. It's all accessible. The Dome of the Rock, it's on the Temple Mount, and this was built on the 7th century. The walls from the time of King Herod, that you can see by the western wall, and all they made special ramps around, and you can go there and feel it and touch it and see the specific stones over there. And the western wall itself also, again, you can go there and it's fully accessible. This is the Church of Holy Sepulchre, and we are getting to the end of the life of Jesus, the Church of Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus was buried. Over there, we have a small barrier. It's not fully accessible because there is one step. One step that negotiating with the Vatican, they can't get to make a small ramp. So that's a place that sometimes we are dealing with obstacles. That's on top of the Golgotha, and this is the church inside, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Pues muchas gracias a ti porque ha sido una iniciativa muy interesante.
Thank you very much. It has been a very interesting initiative, a very complex initiative, but you have great achievements. Before we start the last speech, I have been told that the people you want to assist the workshop number 5, you have to stay here in this room. We start our last speech. We are going to talk about setup project, which is a personal autonomy and tourism services. It will be carried out by Inma Alemani, that works for the foundation Desenvolvimento Comunitario, and they carry out services for tourism businesses and groups of disabled people and their families. It's an initiative that facilitates autonomy for disabled people. And I am going to give the floor to Inma. Thank you. Good afternoon. and I want to thank the organizers for the invitation. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to greet our professionals, and I wanted to thank the interpreters, the language interpreters. If I go too fast, please let me know and I'll slow down. First of all, I'm going to talk about the foundation and the accessibility services in general in the culture sector. And then I'm going to talk about the setup service. The foundation is that has been working for 20 years. We are located in Barcelona. In the last 20 years, we have been working on research and experiments on tools of social transformation through dialogue. Our main areas of activity are basically citizen partnership, mediation and community action, accessibility, of course, social inclusion and international cooperation. The foundation's desenvolupament comunitari works interdisciplinary, and we always take into account the area where they are working. This is something very important to us. We take into account people and citizens where they live and where we carry out our activities. As per accessibility, basically we offer technical resources to facilitate access to community life for disabled peoples. Our aim is to achieve equality of opportunities, especially for disabled people. And this is why we have been doing research, consultancy, training, management, programs and services such as setup, innovation and pilot projects. As I was saying, we work with disabled people has been constant, and this has been something that we kept constant in our activity. Above all in the cultural sector, and we offer technical and human resources that are very necessary. What we intend and our aim is to offer access to culture and active participation to this type of products and services and areas. We want to boost accessibility in this area. We want to advise and support administrations and tourist operators, local operators, in everything that is connected with accessibility and disabled people. We implement resources and activities, inclusive and accessible activities and resources for disabled people. The actions we have been carried out in the last years, we have worked with museums, theaters, big events, and public libraries. We are working with the Museum of Natural Sciences in Barcelona. We are also working with the future museum, Mercat del Born, that will be inaugurated on September 11th, and the Pedralbes Museum. In all these areas, we are carrying out global support service to the professionals that run the museums. We usually provide a service, a support service for a long period of time. We support initiatives and we take care of their initiatives. We make sure that all the initiatives they carry out are accessible. We also offer specific visits for disabled people, or for intellectually disabled people or visually impaired people. We also offer products in Braille, embossed panels. We offer advisement in signposting. We advise on contrasts, on lighting. We use magnetic loops in conference rooms, in the three main museums I have mentioned before. This is a short summary what we have been doing in museums, trying to adapt as much as possible areas that we want to be tactile in the museums. Moreover, we are carrying out training activities for all kinds of staff that take care with the direct customer care. One of the activities we have carried out lately this year is an activity we carried out in public libraries, 5 public libraries in Barcelona and 1 in Reus in the province of Tarragona. A project carried out thanks to Vodafone Foundation and in collaboration with the City Hall of Barcelona. We have endowed these public spaces with technological resources to make possible access of disabled people to new technologies, to computers. We have installed braille lines, alternative keyboards, small keyboards, keyboard protectors, software, and we have installed some programs. Another area of activity, which is not recent, but we have been working on it and we offer consultancy, is the area of big events. We started many years ago with a congress of cities with disabled people. We worked in the Forum of Cultures. We have a photo here where you can see a show in the street where you can see disabled people in the front line. We have created a design, 20,000 disabled people assisted, and it was an event that encouraged us a lot and made us think that the city needed accessible services, stable accessible services. We have worked in other important objects, such as ISA Congress for physically disabled and people with communication difficulties. I'm going to show a drawing. I'm going to describe for the people who cannot see. It could be a theater, the scenery of the stage of a theater. And we have drawn some seats. Some of them are free, others are taken. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, there is a group of people seated on wheelchairs all together. And we can imagine that they are enjoying the show, the performance. They can see. I show you this drawing because it represents the added value we want to give accessibility in Barcelona above all, but also in other places. We know that theater cinemas are already accessible venues, and Barcelona is a very accessible city from this point of view, and we want to take a step forward in terms of standardization and inclusion so that we all feel equal. And this is why I'm showing you another drawing. This is the same stage, but this time the disabled people are seated next to their families, to their friends, and they are enjoying the same show. Now I'm going to talk about setup. I'm going to try to be brief. Setup is a tourism and personal autonomy service. It's a new experience in which we wanted to make new spaces accessible. Our objectives are to promote the creation of a support service in personal autonomy to the traveler, improve the quality of accommodations and tourist services for disabled people, boost the deseasonalization in the touristic offer, increase accessible offer in spaces, equipment, and tourist services, boost job creations in the area, and boost the quality service and a diversity service in our tourist destinations. To this end, we offer a series of direct services to people and tour operators. We have companionship to disabled people and their families. We offer support person for the daily activities, companionship in order to go for a walk through the city. We have been asked to assist a family that was on holiday, that had an autistic child. They wanted to visit some areas, some public spaces, museums that they knew they weren't accessible to their child, and they asked for somebody to accompany the child while they were visiting the museum. This is another kind of service we provide. We help travel agencies to make route accessible. We have been contacted by some travel agencies to identify routes for different groups of people. We're working on training and permanent training, on occasional training for tourist staff. And in the future, we want to carry out a tool or an app to improve the quality of service, to link the user with our setup services in order to have a better communication. What do you want to achieve with our service? We want to make tourism and culture and leisure accessible to everybody. And we think we are going to improve the quality of service, including disabled people. We know when we carry out activities for our disabled peoples, we are carrying out an important job so that they can enjoy and be real tourists. But we also help the rest of the population. Those of you who work in accessibility know this is true. We are also trying to provide an excellent service. We're trying to make this service global, but we want to take into account details, specific needs for each one of our clients. We want to help them to enjoy a nice stay, it is very clear for us that we need to network. We need the public administration support. And we also need a network of all the people working in tourism, in accessibility, that people we believe we work on equal conditions and equality of opportunity. Do I have 1 more minute? Yes. And to finish, I wanted to explain you, to tell you a story. You may be bored. This is a story I read many times when I think I need to cheer up. I like this job very much, but it's hard at times. It's hard in these times of crisis and fragile economy. And this is the story. It's called One by One. And it says, at sunset, a friend of ours was walking through a beach in Mexico, and once he saw a man that was coming through to him. He realized that he was an indigenous people, and he was trying to pick up something that he would throw into the sea. He would throw those things into the ocean. When he became closer, he realized that the man was picking up sea stars that he could find on the beach, and he would throw them into the sea. The walker approached the man to greet him. "Good afternoon, friend. I wanted what you are doing?" "I'm giving the sea stars to the ocean. If I don't give them back to the sea, they will die because of lack of oxygen." I understand, I see. "But there must be thousands of sea stars on this beach. There are too many. And you probably can see this on thousands of beaches. Don't you realize that it's impossible, that what you are doing is really impossible?" The man throwing another sea star into the sea, for this one, yes, it is important. Thank you.
Well, to finish, I want to thank our 5 speakers, luxury speakers. As conclusions, at least 2 of them. One is like good practices are unlimited. There are no limits for good practices. Good practices in Avila, we extend them to the rest of Spain, Portugal, Israel. That is what tourism needs. And when traveling in any part of the world, all the needs of people with disabilities are taken into account. And then the success of these good practices faced accessibility through physical accessibility, training, all the aspects which will make easier the integration of people with disability and elderly people and other groups with difficulties. Sorry for we apologize to our colleagues of Workshop 5. Thank you very much.